Hi OTC Foodies, it's Terry. So today I'm making a traditional dressing for Thanksgiving. So I have some of the items that I've already got, like onion and celery cut up, but we're gonna finish it off. I'm not gonna bake it off today. I'm gonna put it in the refrigerator. That's the nice thing about this dish, is that you can fix it a few days ahead of time and put it in the refrigerator and then bake it off Thanksgiving Day. All right, so let me get my pan warmed up. So I'm putting a stick of butter, and I'm using salted butter in this, not unsalted. I do want some salt in my dish, so that's why I'm using the salted butter. So I'm putting a whole stick of butter in there, and I'm also going to drizzle a little bit of olive oil. Now you might say that's extreme. You have the best of both worlds. We do want that butter in there for the richness in our dressing, so it stays nice and moist. All right, so that is going to melt. All right, meanwhile, we're gonna finish chopping our vegetables. So I have one whole onion here that's been chopped up, and I did that earlier because you didn't want to see an ugly cry trying to do that. And next I'm going to dice some celery. So you can see we've got our frond portion up here, so I'm gonna take that off. Now that would be really good if you were making a homemade stock, vegetable stock or chicken stock. You could use that, throw it in there with some onion, carrot, bay leaf, and fix a really delicious stock. All right, so I'm taking each rib of celery and I'm going to slice it in half, and then if those pieces are big, I'm going to slice those in half still. And then we're gonna do a nice chop on that. Now again, this is important that your knife is sharp. This one probably needs to be sharpened just a little bit, but it still works. Now, a lot of people put different items in their dressings. I am a traditionalist. I don't like all that fancy stuff. I don't like oysters or anything like that. I don't like anything other than just your traditional dressing. All right, and you can see I'm using my pastry scraper here. This is really good if you have to transfer large quantities of food over. It really makes it much easier to do, so you're not having to make multiple trips. Now the difference between dressing and stuffing is of course where it's at. So mine is going to be in a casserole dish, and a stuffing is going to be stuffed in a turkey. Now that's really not the best way to cook your stuffing, is because it could be undercooked inside of the turkey, and then you have to worry about salmonella and stuff like that. So it's really best just to take it out and cook it on its own in a casserole dish or something like that, so that way you know it's going to be fully cooked. All right, so there's our celery. All right, so next we're going to take it over to the stove and cook it. All right, so we're just going to get this to sweat a little bit and soften up. We don't want it to be brown or anything. We just want to soften it up for our dressing. There's some salt, and then next we're going to add some pepper. I used to be one of those that fixed dressing out of the box, but after learning how to make it, which really is not very hard at all, I won't ever go back. This is really very easy to make, it's foolproof, and it tastes so much better than what you could buy in the store. So we're going to let that cook a little bit longer. All right, so let's go back over and look at rest of our ingredients. So I'm going to put my celery aside. All right, next I have two different types of cube stuffing mix. This is Pepperidge Farm. You can find this in the grocery store. It's probably all out in the aisles. You can see I have a classic, which is probably like finer pieces here. And then I have the cubes. And you can see those are nice cubes right there. I like mixing them both just because you have unique textures in that. You don't have just all lumps or anything. You kind of have the best of both worlds. And these are seasoned, they're not plain, which is good too. You've got a little bit of that seasoning in there, but we're gonna dress it up even more. So I'm gonna take about half that bag. And the rest of this in here. All right. Now, the real secret to this is not only your vegetables, but also some nice ground sage. So you want to make sure that your sage is fresh. Like I said, if you don't know when it was the last time you opened it, then you want to go out and get a fresh one. It really makes a difference. Then we're going to be using some chicken broth. So we want to, of course, moisten our bread here. So we're going to pour that in there. And I'm probably going to end up using this whole carton here. And then we have 3 eggs that we're going to add into this because we want to bind our dressing. So I'm going to add some eggs in here. All right, next we're going to add our sage. So this is probably going to be about 2 good tablespoons because of the size. It might be easier just to open this up and pour it out. It's got 1. It's about 2. All right, I'm going to move our stuff out of the way here so we can work. All right, next we're going to check on our vegetables and then we're going to incorporate them into this. So these have broken down. They still have a little bite to them. You can see the celery has not cooked completely down, but that's okay. We don't want it to. We are going to look for that texture in our dressing. All right, so we're going to take this over. And we're going to pour this in. Of course, we want all that nice butter goodness in here. All right. And next, we're going to mix that in. Now you don't want a really dry dressing. You want something that's got a little moisture to it because it's going to sit in the refrigerator for just a few days. And when we bake it off, we don't want it to be too dry, but we also don't want it to be really runny either. So there's a fine line here in which you have to make sure it's at. And this right here, I'm going to have to add just a little bit of moisture to it, but not a whole lot. It's really starting to look good. All right, so let me add a little bit of water in that. And I'm gonna grab my salt and this in. And just a little bit more. All right, I will use a little bit more salt and some pepper. Remember, we did have salt in our vegetables, and we also had salted butter, so we're not going to go too heavy on this. And then some more cracked black pepper. Now, if you wanted to add other ingredients, you could. You could add oysters in this. You could add some roasted pecans in it if you wanted. I know some people do cranberries, some people do apples. That's really up to you and what you like. I just like this clean flavor here. You really have just the flavor of the sage and the vegetables, the richness of the butter in here as well. Last bit. That was about a cup of water actually that we're going to finish off in here. If you have chicken stock, you could have used that as well. That would have worked just fine. All right, so you can see we've got, it's moist looking here, but it's not too dry. We do have some moisture in that. And you can see you've got the pretty pieces of celery and onion in this, and you have your texture with your cubes of stuffing in here, as well as the finer pieces. All right, so next I'm gonna put this in my pan. I don't know about you, but if I'm cooking for a crowd, I don't mind aluminum pans just because they're easy. You can just throw them out when you're done. Less cleanup you have to do. And these are great if you're traveling. You don't have to worry about leaving anything behind. All right, so there we go. There is our Thanksgiving dressing here. And I will cover this, put it in the refrigerator, and just before I'm ready to bake it off, I'll put some pieces of butter on top, and then I'll bake it off at about 375 degrees until it's cooked all the way through and warm in the center. So you're looking at probably about 40-45 minutes for that. And you can keep it covered for until about the last 10 or 15 minutes, and then you want to take the cover off. So you can put aluminum foil on it and pop it in the oven. So like I said, this is really great. You can make it ahead of time, put it in the refrigerator, and you don't have to worry about it. And that's one less thing that you have to cook Thanksgiving Day. All right, stay tuned for my next video. I'm going to be using a very versatile ingredient you can find in the grocery store, and we're going to make a dessert and an appetizer with it. So when you have those guests drop in, you can just whip it up really quickly and serve them something nice. So thanks for eating with me today. Happy Thanksgiving and hope you're doing well. Ciao.